I am an opera singer. Kind of. It's a little hard to explain what it is that I do exactly. I'm trained in opera, and I perform opera. But I also make a whole lot of noise that's not exactly opera. Let me just show you. Go away and don't come back. And scene. So what is that? That was a set of excerpts of what one could call contemporary classical music, a subset of classical music I stumbled into and fell madly in love with. These noises are not what you would expect from your typical concert experience. But for me, this is my zen. Listening to and performing these crazy sounds are how I connect to my feelings and to my presence in our world. So, how did I get into this? Well, I began voice lessons in high school. My teachers were church musicians, and so I sang a lot of sacred Baroque music and church hymns. When it was time to apply for college, I learned that you could actually get a degree in classical voice performance and eventually get paid to sing. Now, classical vocal training is generally the same as it was in the 19th century. The operatic tradition actually began in 1597 with a work called Daphne by Jacopo Peri. And out of this came masterworks from the likes of Monteverdi, Rameau, and Handel. Now, the instruments accompanying these singers were grouped in small chamber ensembles. As centuries passed, new instruments like the saxophone were invented, and orchestras got bigger and bigger, and singers needed the physical training to be able to cut through that loud orchestral sound. So, we singers use our internal acoustics. The palate, the roof of your mouth, and your mask, the bones in your cheeks and in your teeth. Singers use these two focal points, often referred to as chiaro and scuro, to access overtones. And overtones can carry even the tiniest sound over an entire orchestra without any physical strain. Through this developed the bel canto technique, the typical opera sound we know and love today. And this is the technique that's taught to young singers in traditional music programs in colleges and conservatories. On one hand, it's a pretty great technique. I mean, it's healthy when done right, and it sounds impressive, right? On the other hand, it's a very Eurocentric definition of singing, and the sound is often advertised as the only healthy way to sing. As a result, in vocal training, other vocal colors and vocal genres are often set aside. And while technique specification is necessary in order to specialize in this field, limiting the vocal mechanism to just one sound is simply not good, especially for a young developing voice. Why? Because we're not all made to sound like Maria Callas or Luciana Pavarotti. Every one of our voices is like a fingerprint in that each voice is truly unique. To manipulate a single voice into mimicking a particular sound can be artistically and even physically damaging. Now, I don't mean to suggest that only the few elite can create an operatic sound. However, the operatic sound is a much more diverse palette of vocal colors that is strengthened by our collective natural differences. Now, as for my voice, it didn't quite fit into the operatic mold. But I was under the impression that if I didn't sing in this particular way, I would not be able to sing at all, and I certainly wouldn't have a career. So I set my creativity aside. I just had to make myself fit in. Unfortunately, in this pursuit to conform, my technique suffered a lot, to the point that in a lot of operatic material I was working on, I couldn't even get my vocal cords to consistently line up to produce tone. While I was in college, grappling with all of this, student composition majors would ask me to premiere their new works because I have a thing called perfect pitch, which is the ability to produce a pitch out of thin air without any auditory reference. For example, ask me to sing an A. Ooh, done. Thank you. This gift makes it very easy to learn music quickly, so naturally I made friends with a lot of composers, and I sang a lot of weird music for them. But it was awesome. I was still using my operatic vocal mechanism per se, but somehow my voice felt physically freer. And as I implemented non-operatic vocal techniques, which I'll demonstrate for you all later, my overall singing improved. Additionally, the music itself was different. It wasn't traditional, it was experimental, because it didn't have this historical tradition to define how it was supposed to sound or how it was supposed to be performed. This was, by definition, contemporary music. So, for 4 years, I received operatic training, sing secret contemporary music on the side, obtain my opera diploma, and then am told, all right, go do it. Be an opera singer. And I was terrified because at this point, I didn't exactly feel a love for opera. My singing technique was still in flux, and I was faced with this dilemma of what I wanted to do with singing versus what I was supposed to do with singing, which in this case was to audition for young artist programs and opera companies. I didn't want to disappoint my parents or my mentors, but I wasn't sure how to find a path of joy in singing without wrecking my voice or losing my sanity. However, quitting the music business didn't feel right either, because, simply put, I love to sing. It feels great to have the air rush through my body and to feel my abs and diaphragm working to create this powerful vocal sound. But more importantly, I feel most easily able to communicate my feelings, well, in song. And this cheesy sentiment kind of made my decision for me. So after college, I sang more and more contemporary music. And instead of auditioning for young artist programs and opera companies, I produced my own shows, and I programmed works that I wanted to sing. One of the first major contemporary works I learned, and still perform quite often today, is a 40-minute work for solo voice called 14 Recitations, written by George Aperghis. This piece is in 14 movements, and it's filled with screams, croaks, growls, and other weird noises, like Ik ev iv ish gal ev ga ev ga ga iv al ev, etc. All of that was what you could call extended vocal techniques, which are sounds and approaches to the voice that are outside of the whole opera thing. On first listen, this piece sounds very unnatural and a little scary as far as normal singing is concerned. However, I found that as I explored my natural colors in my voice and methodically put this piece together, I was able to sing it quite naturally while retaining my creativity and spontaneity. As I focused my niche with works like this, my musicianship began to unearth itself, and my singing technique became stronger and more reliable. And soon enough, my overall artistic work gained success and recognition. Today, I primarily sing contemporary classical music, alongside standard classical music, opera, jazz, improvisation, and avant-garde noisemaking. It's a thing. And I employ several techniques from gig to gig. For example, I can change my point of resonance by changing the direction of my breath to different hard surfaces of my body to create different colors. A great example of this is head voice and chest voice. Ah, ah, ah. And I can even point my sound to different parts of my soft palate, hard palate, and mask to create different colors as well. If I want to have a sense of fragility in my tone to express something sad or weak or thoughtful, I can add breathiness to my tone. If I want to create a sense of urgency or agitation, or perhaps a sense of calm, I can adjust my vibrato, which is the wave in my voice. I can use what's called vocal fry, which is sort of a light pressing on the chord. And if I manipulate this technique through my range, I can almost create a sort of multiphonic effect. And I can even produce sound breathing in. So here's out, and in. And often enough, I use a bunch of these techniques even within one piece. Using all of these different sounds, alongside my classical training and my operatic sound, makes up my unique artistry, tailored to the natural facets of my voice. In digging into my natural voice and my joyful voice, I found my sense of worth. As I think back to college, to my class of 25 singers, we were all expected to use our vocal training like some sort of destiny to become opera singers in a traditional sense. But really only a few of us actually did that. I and many others chose different paths, and we were faced with judgment, discouragement, potential failure, and many other obstacles. But we persisted, and many of us succeeded in our own ways. So I want to leave you all with something I wish someone had told me when I was a struggling 20-year-old singer. Do what you want with your voice. So now, I invite you to listen to a piece and see where it takes you. This is a piece I love to sing. It's called Dithyramb, and it's written by American composer and my friend, Jason Eckert. That's the score to the first page of it. Nepoza was befs tengebüth rabova vütisch gebusch sveg Neuf Pasch lieb oi Thadash so verniebt Snap Schip das Masked Sweet ek as get the benny shake so enough seven who have action way up so is pause by for the Thank you very much.